In this video, I want to show you a new type of hand crank that I purchased. It's sold for a featherweight or a 99. In my case, I'm going to put it on the Spartan. And it's sold as like a backup hand crank for a machine that has a motor. Now, I want to show you first, there's my Spartan. And this is what you normally buy for a hand crank. You buy a spoked wheel if your machine doesn't have one, and you buy a large hand crank. And when you install those two, and I do have a few videos up, and the hand excuse me, the hand crank is on the machine. When you crank this, this arm hits the wheel, and the whole wheel turns. But on this other type of backup hand crank, which it looks like it's made very well. Look at this. That's the whole thing right there. But what it does, and this may be a drawback for a lot of people, it folds up, and you can tell just by that it attaches to a clutch knob, which is right here on the machine. And what that means is it will work, as far as I know, but at the same time, you're only turning the clutch wheel. You're not turning the whole bigger wheel. So you get one stitch per turn. Now, the other thing is, because of the way it fits in there, most hand cranks on Singers turn backwards, toward the back. This, because of how it's made, has to turn toward the front, and you may have a problem getting used to that. So the first step, and the seller does have a video up with maybe a better view of how to do this, and I'll put the link to his video in the information section. To remove your original clutch knob or stop motion knob, you have to loosen the little screw on it, and then just screw it to the left and it will come off. And what you have to be careful of is keeping the washer in place. And then, let me just get the hand crank out of there. Here is a replacement clutch knob that has a hole in the middle of it. And you install it the same way that you would a normal one, by turning it to the right. And they're always a little tricky to get on there straight. And you want to make sure, you might have to hold your thread guide in place to make sure that it goes all the way tight. And then you tighten up the little screw again in the center of it. Now, to install the hand crank, you put it in, but you turn it toward the front or toward the left. So what you're actually doing is using the machine with the clutch knob disengaged as a hand crank. So let's move the box out of the way. So here we go. And you can see that it's installed the way I said, and that went very quickly. There's my machine. And I have to tell you, I was afraid I would really notice that it was only one stitch per turn. Because the other day, when Miller on Treadle On mentioned the possible drawbacks to this, that was one of them, that it's only one stitch per turn. And I was getting about 2.5 on most of my machines. But I don't really notice that as a horrible thing. Now, like I said, the seller makes these himself basically for featherweights. And you can see you do not have to take your motor off to use that. Now, potentially, I can take this off of there. I can put it on my 237s, on my 1591. If I hadn't already made my grandmother's machine a hand crank, I could put it on the 99. Now, to remove the hand crank, you have to, I can't do it while I'm holding the camera, but you just turn the crank backwards.